Hello and welcome. My name is Sharon Calhoun, Director at Vector Wealth Management. Joining me today is Suzy Klapperich, my colleague, and our Chief Compliance Officer at Vector. Let's see, Suzy, you've been with Vector for about 9 years now?
Yep, going on 9 years.
Wow, time goes fast. Well, again, thank you for joining us. We have a really important topic to cover today. It's called social engineering fraud. That is quite a title and quite a topic. As you know, I love statistics. And so before our discussion today, I wanted to spend a little bit of time kind of looking at some recent statistics about fraud, cybercrimes. And so I want to read two statistics that I found, and you can comment on them here in just a minute. But statistic number one, in 2023 alone, more than 353 million people were impacted by data breaches. I mean, that's just an amazing number. And then secondly, the FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center, which I don't even think a lot of people have even heard of, but it is a website that the FBI has, so you can file a complaint on that website. But according to their website, last year in 2023, they had 880,418 complaints. So that was just complaints filed. So, I mean, obviously, Suzy, these numbers are just staggering, and sadly, they're on the uptick. And so our conversation today is about the social engineering of fraud. And so let's just kind of kick it off by saying, first of all, these numbers are high. There's a lot of things going on. But what is social engineering fraud?
Social engineering is a new term for us. Social engineering really is all about these scammers that want to manipulate you to give up your sensitive data, or they want you to perform an act to give up the security to your accounts. So they're at the core of it is they really want to manipulate you, and they use psychology tactics to do it. They're looking for you to kind of catch you off guard. They're looking for you to be stressed or to be distracted. And if they place enough calls, if they reach out to enough people, ultimately they're going to find people who are distracted and stressed, and they can play on your emotions.
Yeah. Suzy, you just mentioned kind of the key buzzword here, and that is emotions. Can you walk us through what are some of these emotions that are coming into play here, and how are they being used?
That's a really good question. And the first one I can think of would be urgency. They want to be sure, these scammers want to be sure that they're creating an act of urgency, whether that be, hey, click on this link, hurry up, you need to pay a bill, you're late on something, you can make a bunch of money if you do it right now. But urgency it's a big factor. Secondly, trust. Trust. You know how if you trust somebody, you're willing to do more for them. So it's important for them to create trust in a person. By the time they've contacted you, they know. They've already looked at your history. They've looked at your social media. They've probably gone out to your relatives' social media. They've looked at public records, potentially. So they have a story behind you that they're leading with, and they're trying to push those buttons that will allow you to trust them.
Yeah.
Another is fear. Fear is a big one because we're all afraid of something.
Yes.
So they want to make sure, yep, we are hitting that button. We know what you're afraid of. They want, maybe it's that you didn't show up for a court date. Maybe it's that you were supposed to be on a jury and you didn't show up for jury duty. You're going to have to pay a fine. We're going to suspend some benefits for you, but it is a matter of fear for you. Desperation. So we all know there's natural disasters. That's a good probably a good example of when you might be desperate. Tornadoes, earthquakes, hurricanes. You're scrambling around. You've got damage. Many of these people that go through this may need money. They may, be looking for family members that have been through it. So they're going to create. They know you're desperate. They're going to target you that way. Curiosity. We're all curious. Curiosity. A good example would be you find a flash drive. Find a flash drive and you don't know what to do with it. You don't know what's on it. So you put it in your computer. Just maybe I can find the person this belongs to. Well, there could be malware on that flash drive, but your curiosity got the best of you.
Yeah.
And lastly, finally, sympathy. Sympathy is a good example of that would be, you've gone grocery shopping and you're unloading the car. You can't carry everything in. You need to get into your building, but you only have two hands. Somebody offers to let you in the building. Just give them your code, and they will nicely enter the code, let you in, and walk in right behind you. So those would be the key emotions that I think scammers try to play on.
Yeah. Suzy, that was a fantastic summary. So thank you for that summary. Could you just one more time just hit on those key emotions? Because this is really important.
They're looking for urgency, create urgency, trust, fear, desperation, curiosity, and sympathy.
Yeah. So what I think is really interesting in light of our discussion today, just last night when I was going through my personal email, I had 2 emails in there that remind me of this topic today. One of them was an email from Delta. My family and I recently took a trip, and it was an email from Delta that looked real, had the Delta logo on it, and the email said, "We're looking for your feedback. If you will provide feedback on your recent travel, we will give you a free trip." Now, who wouldn't love a free trip, right? Everybody wants a free trip. But and where I think about what you just mentioned with the emotions, to me, that ties into trust, because I know Delta. It's a brand I trust. I use it for all of my airline travel. So I'm feeling like, hey, this is from a trusted source. But when you read the text of the email, I'm sorry, but there is no way that just for simply filling out a survey on what I thought of my recent travel, are they going to give me a free trip? So I did not click on that because that's what they wanted me to do, was to click on the link to start the survey. And I'm like, there's no way.
And it made you think, right?
It did, because again, initially, number one, who wouldn't want a free trip? And number 2, well, it's coming from Delta. So it has to be real, right? The second email that I got last night was from Xfinity. And that email said something to the effect of, there was a problem with your billing, please click here to resolve this matter. And what I thought was particularly interesting about it is we don't even use Xfinity. It's like, so, but there again, it's a little bit of that fear tactic, because when you talk about the emotions, my initial instinct was, oh my gosh, I didn't pay something, is there a problem? So it's creating that fear. But then to take it a step back and say, hey, wait a minute, we don't even use this provider. So clearly, again, it's scam. But the key with both of these is they looked so real. They just looked so real. So can you take a few minutes, Suzy, and just talk about, besides the 2 that I mentioned, but what are some of these schemes that you're seeing?
Sure. So the first one that comes to mind is investments. Investments might be they're sending you an email, they're calling you. They want you to invest in some kind of a once-in-a-lifetime scheme that you can get rich quick. They want you to, hey, you can invest with, you can wire us money. You could give us cash. You can invest cryptocurrency. You send it to them. They create these websites that look legit. They look legitimate. It tracks your money. It looks like you're making money, when in fact there is no money. They've taken the money. The second would be government agencies. We all have had those calls from government agencies, whether it be the IRS, Social Security Office, maybe law enforcement, where they create an urgency. If, for example, Social Security, we've paid you too much money. We're going to take away some benefits. They email you, and they call you, and they place this fear in you again that you are going to lose something. We're going to stop your benefits. So you have this urgency to you to fix something where, in fact, the Social Security office is never going to call you.
Yeah.
They're never going to call you and say, you owe us some benefits. They're going to communicate through the mail. Same with Medicare. They're going to communicate through the mail. They're not going to call you or email you that. The IRS, same thing. You owe money. And in fact, this is a really good one. A really good example, I feel like, because we did have this in the office.
Yeah.
We train on this all the time. We train on it over and over. We had an employee who answered the phone, and they had information about her and told her she owed money through the IRS and they were going to garnish her wages if she did not provide them with personal information. And so I think it was her credit card number, if I remember.
Yeah.
She was scared.
Yeah.
She knew enough to come back and talk to you and I and say, what do I do? I'm scared. And we told her, just hang up the phone.
Yeah.
Do not respond, because they are not going to call you and they are not going to threaten you.
Yeah. Suzy, I want to stop here for just 1 second because, again, everything, and again, this is all just fantastic stuff, but the thing I want to reiterate again that you said, that it sounds simplistic, but we fall for it, is the phone, right?
Yeah.
They will not call on the phone. So when you get these calls, what I'm hearing you say is hang up.
Yep.
They simply do not call. And that is one of the key ways that these fraudsters are reaching their victims, is through the phone. So hang up immediately. That one's an easy one. Just hang up, period.
Because, again, they're creating urgency. They're creating fear. They're creating desperation. Whatever they catch you on that day, they're throwing it all at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the final one I wanted to touch on was the tech support.
Yeah.
That's a big one. We're seeing a lot of increase in what's called search engine optimization. And you ask, what is search engine optimization? What that is these fraudsters are creating websites that look legitimate, and they're using algorithms. So if you are searching for a company, the algorithm is bringing it to the top of the search. So we have run across this, and in fact, with our custodian Schwab, and they're well aware of it. We've had a couple of clients that have reached out to us and said this happened. And what has happened is, if you go in through Google, Chrome, Safari, and you want to search for Schwab. That's an example. This happens with many companies.
Right.
But you want to search for Schwab. So you put Schwab in the search bar. All these Schwab options come up. And many times the first one that comes up, you click on.
Yeah.
Okay? So what happens in these two instances that we're aware of, and again, Schwab has had more, where the clients have searched, they've clicked on the link, and what comes up is a legitimate-looking Schwab site. They click on the site, and up comes an alert that says, Schwab is having issues. Something like Schwab is having issues. Here's a code for you. Please call this number so we can help you log in. You log in, you call the number, you give them the code, and they try to walk you through how to log into the Schwab site by asking you personal information. They might ask you your account number. They might ask you your password. They are trying anything to get information from you so that they can get into your account and take your money. We've been really lucky that none of our clients have have fallen for anything like that.
Right.
How you can avoid that is in a few different ways. You can type, if you know the website, the exact website address, www.schwaballiance.com, you can type that into the search bar and it'll bring you up Schwab's site. You can download the Schwab app on your phone, on your mobile device, and you can go in through the mobile device, whether that be your cell phone or your iPad. You can do it that way. You can also bookmark it in your search engine. So next time you go in, the first time you go in, you bookmark it. Second time, you will have that bookmark there, and you can automatically log in. I guess one of my suggestions would be keep Schwab's number ahead of time so that you know if this ever happens to you, you have their number to call if something should happen. Or call your advisor. They can also help you.
Yeah. So I think just a couple things that you mentioned there was, first of all, I think it's a great idea to have these numbers or these websites on a separate piece of paper. Because we are all guilty of going to Google, right? Google's my friend. I love Google. We Google everything. But I see what you're saying. You go to Google, you type in, and maybe it's not Schwab. Maybe it's your bank. Maybe it's, whatever, your credit card. And you type in, whatever your credit card is, and you see a whole list of things pop up. And those first ones usually will say, sponsored or ad or something like that. So oftentimes those are paid slots to be there. So you kind of have to look through all those to get to what looks like the actual real site. But what I'm hearing you say is have that written down on a separate piece of paper, right? All these places, these entities that are important to you, whether it's, again, credit card, your utilities, just anything that you where you conduct a business, it would be a good idea to have their website and their phone number written maybe in the same place where people store and keep passwords.
Yes.
So having that, so then you're not relying on that Google search. I think that's a really, really important key for how to kind of help with some of this.
And that's a really good point, Sharon. Many people use a password manager.
Yeah.
And you can do it, best way, you can do it right out there.
Why don't you, Suzy, since you mentioned that, could you take just a moment and just talk a little bit about what that is?
So there are different password managers that you can load. It's electronic, and you save your password. So then you log into the password manager. Your site is saved, and your password is saved. It's encrypted, so it's safe, it's secure. In fact, if you lose your password, you may not be able to get back into it. But it's only one password you have to save.
Okay. Yeah. So it should be easy to store one versus so many that we have to store.
Yes.
And what we're seeing right today is a lot of these password entities require frequent password changes. So you're like, now I have to change it again. How am I going to remember that one? So the software does a great job storing that for you so you don't have to try to remember it.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Definitely.
Quite good. Suzy, okay, so you kind of walked through what some of these latest schemes are. What else? You mentioned the one about how to, if we're having to do a search, but what are some other ways that we can protect ourselves?
Sure. Well, I would say first and foremost, if you receive a call and they're looking for information or they're rushing you, stop. Think about it. Hang the phone up.
Yeah.
Call the company directly. If they really need something from you, they're going to have notes. They're going to know what they need, and you're going to be able to reach them. You don't have to do it right there on the phone. Don't fall victim to that urgency that they're trying to create for you. Don't ever give remote access or any payment information to an unsolicited call. And do not rely on caller ID. We have had that as well, where somebody will call in. It'll look like a client, and when you answer the phone number changes. These spoofers are really good at creating legitimate-looking calls, but you have to be careful. So don't trust caller ID. Make sure that you are relying on people that you know and you know who you're talking to. If it's unsolicited, hang up, call back.
Yeah.
Awareness. Be skeptical. Don't just give your information out to anybody who asks. Be thoughtful, be skeptical. If it doesn't feel right, then it's probably not. You should really take a step back.
If you had, let's say, 3 key takeaways for our audience today on things that they can do, what would those 3 things be?
I would say the first one would be lock it up. Lock it up. Don't give out too much personal information, meaning social media, Facebook, Instagram. Don't put too much information out there, because the less you put out there, the less they can learn about you.
Yeah.
So that would be my first. Second would be trust your instincts. You know best. And if they're creating fear in you, it's okay to take a step back, and it's okay to think about it before you react. Lastly, slow down. Again, slow down and think about it. They're trying to manipulate your emotions, and you're the only one that can hold those in check. So I would say stop, look, and think before you act.
Okay. Suzy, those were 3 great key takeaways from today. I wish we had more time. I feel like we could talk about this for, a whole nother session. But again, thank you so much for your time today. These have been wonderful tips, learning about social engineering fraud, kind of the emotions, how they play on that, what are some of the common schemes, and then, like you said, some of your takeaways. So thank you so much.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, if you do have issues, if you feel uncomfortable, if you run across anything, we're here. We're here. That's what we're here for. Give us a call, 612-378-7560, and we are happy to help you.
Yeah, thank you. And I second that.
Great.
So again, thank you so much. If you like this episode, please feel free to send it on to someone else that you think could benefit from this information. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and remember to always question the authenticity of someone who seeks your trust. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.
Hey, thanks for listening to our podcast. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Be sure to consult first with a qualified financial advisor and/or a tax professional before implementing any investment strategy.